It was a quiet afternoon in the art museum when our Detective Zhang, stumbled upon a peculiar set of brushwork. It was at this point he knew he was onto something. The palette? Colorful. The technique? Loose. I think I said something suspiciously impressionistic. We may have a Monet Mystery on our hands, fellas. The only thing he could do was open up a new case. A Monet master study. Okay, thank you, Detective Zhang, for your deep insights and very keen observational skill. Today, we'll be uncovering the clues behind how to paint like Monet. Specifically, we'll be going painting by painting, clue by clue, to figure out how Monet achieved his specific style of painting, what we can learn from it, and ultimately, in the end, piece together the clues to create our own master study of Monet. We have Monet's case file right here. Opening up the case file, it seems like the first clue that we have is Impressionism Sunrise. Okay guys, so the first aspect I would like to look at for this painting is Monet's brushwork on this lake area. As you can see, in this area, he just uses these dots. Not dots, like strokes of paint, where it's just very clumpy, but he just stroke, and this creates an illusion in the viewer's eye of there being waves on the sea. His brushwork overall is all very loose, and it's all very unblended as well. As you can see, if we zoom in here, these cloud areas, he just puts the paint on the canvas and leaves it there, doesn't blend it. He doesn't try to hide his brushwork. Another thing that's very interesting about his brushwork in this case is that it's very simple, but he does enough to communicate to the viewer about what certain stuff are. So for example, if we zoom into the boat, it's really just a few brush strokes. But with these few brush strokes, Monet is able to create this illusion of there being a person or two people in a boat. See, he has this one brush stroke to the side that captures the boat, another which captures the reflection, and for the person, he just has a vertical brush stroke and some like details for like the arm and probably the paddle. And for the reflection, he just like 3 dots. That's all he needed to depict what he needed to depict. Like the waves, he leaves it up to the viewer's imagination to fill it in for the rest of the painting. Okay guys, I think we're done analyzing this painting. I'll be filing this clue underneath brushwork from how much of the Monet's brushwork we were able to decipher from this painting itself. I'll be filing under the brushwork tab. Okay guys, so our second clue is Monet's Water Lilies painting. And specifically for this painting, I want us to take a look at Monet's use of color and how he uses color to create these beautiful landscapes that we all love. Alright guys, so using the Procreate app, I've opened up Monet's Water Lilies painting. In terms of like the warm and the cool tones, in this case, water lilies is like almost like a balance between like the cooler water and like the warmer reflected light, as you can see on the reflections. Monet also does this thing with his palette where he doesn't exactly mix his colors fully. So if you've seen like a picture of Monet's palette, all of the colors on there are like, it's very spontaneous. It's not exactly like pre-mixed. Like you see some old masters, they choose to like pre-mix their colors ahead of hand. With Monet's work process, he has all his colors and he just mixes them on the spot and like keeps everything a bit more spontaneous, and which creates all these beautiful like subtleties in his use of color. It's not very like uniform in a way. You see like the various blues and greens and stuff, they all like differ and it creates this very natural looking landscape and color use, but also very beautiful in this case. Alright guys, so the last of the paintings we'll be taking a look at for our clues is Monet's cathedral paintings. Okay guys, so for this final clue, I have pulled up Monet's cathedral paintings. He has done multiple of these paintings of the same cathedral, just at different times of the day. And I want us to just take a look and what exactly Monet is doing here. So as you can see here, he has one that's around morning time, one that's maybe around midday, and one that's around like nighttime. So another thing Monet tried to do with this, specifically with this set of cathedral paintings, was capturing the fleeting moment, this fleeting light. And he believed that everything in this world was changing, and it was his goal with these paintings to just capture the moment. Alright, so in order to paint like Monet, we ourselves must also take inspiration from this idea and just merely try to capture the essence of the moment, not get caught up too much in the little details. Because even on the cathedral, he's just, as we stated before, dotting away, using like simple short brush strokes to just capture all the colors and the light in that specific scene. He's not focused too much on really rendering out all the individual details. Okay, now that we've analyzed all the clues, I think it is time for us to crack the Monet case. How can we paint like Monet? Use of light, simple brushwork, vibrant colors. Aha! I think I know how we can paint like Monet. Let's get into it, guys. Alright guys, so for the subject of the painting, I've selected this flowering bush image, a picture that I'd taken when I was wandering my local community garden. Something about the flowers, the colors, and the looseness of this bush did remind me a lot of Monet's paintings. I'll be using oil paint for this piece, and as you can see, I'm already starting on filling in the background values. During this painting process, I wanted to first block in the major values and not overblend the paint that I put on the canvas. This, in turn, lets the brushwork speak for itself, just like in the Monet paintings that we took a look at earlier. As I'm painting this ground area, I'm also incorporating different hues of green, red, and blue into the soil color, mimicking Monet's great sensitivity to the effects of light on its surroundings, where no surface is completely flat and every inch of the painting from the ground to the bush itself is influenced by the areas around it. This method allows us to create a very textured and almost luminous soil area, just tons of layered brushwork and very subtle shifts in color. All this ties back to our analysis of Monet's Cathedral series, where even the stone walls of the cathedral seem to breathe with both light and atmosphere, full of various different colors and textures. At this point, I've finished up covering all the whites of the canvas, so I'm moving back into the bush area to begin building up some detail. I start by sculpting the form with some darker values, loosely indicating where all the branches are. Rather than drawing every branch, I'm thinking more like Monet, suggesting the structure through contrast between the darker browns and the lighter background, and letting the viewer's eye fill in the rest. Now I've started adding some of the shadows in the ground area, which is cast by the bush, and I'm keeping them very soft and also slightly cool toned with these blues to reflect light filtering through the foliage, just like how Monet, who often paints shadows not as like black or gray, but with little colors that are shaped by their surroundings. I'm also continuing to build up the bush area by layering in some of the darker greens to deepen the shadows and adding a few highlights to bring out some of the foliage. I'm focusing on the contrast and keeping my strokes very loose, but just enough to suggest that there is density and light without over-defining anything. At this point, I've started to add in some of the flowers. I've decided to go with pink instead of purple, which is a personal choice. I think it's important to remember that most of the time, no one else knows what your original reference looked like, only you do. That means you can have the freedom to take some liberties, adjust some colors and shapes, and make the painting more of your own. Even Monet was not copying reality, he was trying to translate how it felt to him. The flowers are painted very loosely, just a few dots here and there to suggest their presence. I'm not aiming for detailed petals or realism. I'm just drawing enough to hint that they're there. As I stated before, like Monet's Impressionism sunrise, we're trying to let the viewer's eyes fill in the rest of the information. Okay guys, so as I'm wrapping up this part of the painting, I'm going to be taking a quick dinner break. It's important for artists to step away every now and then. Sometimes a bit of rest can really help you, since when you come back you have fresh eyes and can see certain areas where you didn't notice before. Okay guys, so right now I'm adding some of the finishing touches to the painting. I'm just tightening up some of the details such as the flower petals and maybe some of the bush areas and also the background. But really just minor adjustments at this point because the painting overall is pretty much done. And now for the final reveal, drum roll please. Alright, so the Monet case is officially closed. We've cracked the code: brushwork, light, color, and looseness. But something tells me this isn't the last mystery we'll be solving. I wonder who's next.